the way I look at all the different places that I've lived in, they've kind of been borrowed skies. So, meaning I'm borrowing these skies, this place, where I am now for the time being as mine. Meaning, when you borrow something, you're taking it and you're taking it for you, for yourselves. It just means that in all those places, these were all my homes. They were all still home to me at that time.
Hi, I'm Mickelle Weber, founder of House of Peregrine. This show is for life abroad and those crafting their life story with intention. I bring you conversations about international finances, meaning making, relationships, and parenting. I bring on the experts to help you on your journey so that you can connect more deeply with yourself, the people around you, and the place you currently call home. Find out more at houseofperegrine.com. You can find exclusive guides, products, software, and a community that's waiting to welcome you. Welcome to House of Peregrine. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the House of Peregrine podcast. Today's episode, I'm excited to share with you. We have back on the author Sam Frearson Tubito, author of the upcoming Beneath a Borrowed Sky, A Woman's Search for the True Meaning of Home. She's back with us, and if you listened to our first conversation in episode 52, you already know why I'm so happy about this. It was an amazing conversation about home, identity, and what it means to build stability in a life shaped by movement, especially as a family living across cultures. Sam is a third-generation global nomad who has raised 4 fourth-generation global nomads. Her children now live across the world: Portland, San Francisco, Sydney, and Barcelona, while Sam and her husband live in Italy, the 15th country she has called home. She believes identity is shaped less by where we're from and more by who we are, and she's far more likely to ask you what your story is than where you come from. Through her writing and talks, she supports globally mobile individuals and families navigating questions of belonging, home, and third culture identity, which she shares at wanderingidentity.com and on Substack. She's joining us again today to talk about her new book, and I cannot wait for you to read it. Sam, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited to talk to you again after you've been through the writing journey.
Thank you so much, Mickelle. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you. It's great to be back.
Great. So I want you just to start briefly about telling us about the book. What it has now materialized. When we spoke before, it was in the works, but now it's coming out.
Yeah.
So tell us.
I can't believe it. It's actually coming out on the 6th of June. So in 4 days' time, you will be able to order it on Amazon. It's all very exciting stuff. It's called Beneath a Borrowed Sky, A Woman's Search for the True Meaning of Home. And it explores the complexities of identity, belonging, and the meaning of home through the lens of a woman, me, who has spent her life between cultures. As a mother raising 4 fourth-generation global nomads, she reflects on how her own upbringing shaped her and questions the choices she's made for her children. While a global nomadic life might complicate identity, true home is something we carry within us. This is the main message that I bring in the book. It's about home and carrying it within you.
Yeah. And motherhood, which I love.
Yeah. And motherhood. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are lots of different themes, motherhood being one of the main ones as well, where I do a lot of comparisons. The big comparison is that my parents decided to send me and my brother to boarding school at a very young age, rather than bring us along with all the different moves that they made, and I made ultimately. And that was a really big decision that I made with my husband, saying we are not going to be doing that with our kids. No matter where we end up, no matter where we go, we're bringing the kids with us. So I explore the reasons and the whys, and did we make a mistake, or, all of that during the book.
Yeah. And that's the reason I say mother is because very, very often women detach from that part of themselves. And it's actually been the way you've lived is through that lens in a lot of ways. And so that's a really special thing, because often publishing and all this, I mean, it's like you can go on a great quest. You can have 400 movies about a guy climbing a mountain, but there can only be one about a mother for some reason. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think it's really special to be able to have multiple perspectives of mothering, because your motherhood journey goes along with your life. Doesn't stop when you want to move abroad. Your motherhood journey and your marriage story and your life story goes on. And so that's one of the aspects you bring in, which I think is so helpful, but also just really beautiful. So yeah, thanks for bringing it along with you.
Well, motherhood changed how I understood belonging, really, because raising my own children across borders made me reflect deeply about the identity, the stability, and what we pass on to our children. I was raised as a global nomad, but I was sent away, and there was a massive break between, my parents' relationship and my relationship. I didn't want that with my kids. So that was a tiny decision, or maybe an important decision that I made with bringing the kids along. But then I still moved them from one culture to another. We still made that decision to do the nomadic life. And it really made me realize that, oh my God, they're still moving around. They're still living between cultures. Yes, they haven't been sent to boarding school. And yes, we have an incredibly strong and close family bond, which happens, I think, to a lot of expat families when they're moving from one country to another, because that's who they know. They have each other's backs. A lot of expat families move every 2 to 3 or 4 years, and you're having to say goodbye to the life that you've created. And the only thing that really stays the same is that unit. So you do become incredibly close, which is wonderful, which is what I wanted. I wanted that because I didn't have that with my parents, with the family unit that I grew up with. And I wanted something different. And we achieved that. It's amazing. But at the same time, they still grew up between cultures, and they still find it very, very difficult to answer that question, where are you from?
Yeah.
So, and what's your story? I touch upon it in the book all the time. It's different for every single one of them. There's 4 of them. They've lived it very independently, very differently. And it's fascinating. A little bit heartbreaking for me, because I didn't want them to suffer, but there is a realization in the book where growing up between cultures, no matter how close your family is, it's still a pain point.
Yeah. It's both pain and it's amazing and painful. And it's possible that you could say that growing up is a pain point. Like there's pain points no matter how you grow up, but this is a very specific kind of pain and a very specific kind of adventure and bonding. So I feel the same way a little bit. So I just had Mother's Day with my kids and I wrote them all letters and said, thank you for making me a mom. Because creating your own belonging, that is a way to do it. And that creates a certain kind of bond with your kids. And it sounds like you are very aware of that, but not all of us are aware as we're doing it. So it's really cool that you were.
I think now that my kids are all grown, they're all grown. I mean, they're 21, 24, 26, and 27 years old, living all over the world. I have this immense pride about how they are leading their lives right now. I wouldn't say that they are settled in any one place right now, but what they're doing is that they're navigating their lives in a very third culture kid way. They
What
are
is that?
just basically,
Tell us.
it's third culture kid is someone it's a child who has lived a significant amount of their childhood in different countries, not their passport country and neither their parents' passport country. So in different cultures.
What does that look like when someone's navigating their life in a very third culture way?
So what does it look like? It looks like embracing the change, embracing the newness, putting 2 feet in the circle and really getting on with that presence, with that, I'm going to do this, finding friends. I mean, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying that they are really getting into it and understand that this is what you have to do if when you move to a new place and you don't know anyone, if you're changing jobs. For example, my daughter, she just moved. She's done a lot of moves within the US, but she's only 26. She's gone from San Luis Obispo to Los Angeles to San Diego, and now she's in San Francisco, all with new jobs. And she's had to create her own community. How did she do that? It's just putting herself out there. Making just one friend is enough for the first few, I don't know, however long it is. One friend is enough, actually, to be honest. But then, a typical third culture kid doesn't tend to have just one friend because they're so good at making friends, starting things anew, and believing that this is their new home. And just going 100% into it. Yeah.
At least temporarily.
I think the trick is to not think it's temporary. The trick is to think, you know what, this is me now. This is it. This is it. I'm going to go full hog. This is my community. Because if you think it's temporary, you're not going to put all that effort in. If you know that within, I don't know, 6 months, a year, 2 years, you're moving on, you're not going to put all the effort in.
Yeah. And that's bad. That's not bad, but it does change your experience. And it changes the experience that the place has too, the effect you have on the place.
Mm.
And so if you're trying to have a positive influence in the world, investing fully where you are, even if it's temporarily, is really important, I think. And that's one
It's
of the
so
things
important. The book is
yeah,
about community. It's about, so we often think home is a location, but sometimes home is simply the people who witness your lives. So,
that's so beautiful. We could just end the podcast there, but we're not going to. The title of your book, I really want to dive into that a little bit. So
mm.
Beneath the Borrowed Sky, it's such a striking phrase. And where does that come from?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've just talked about how it's super important to just live in the moment. Yeah. And appreciate that and, be 100% here. I'm here now. But really, the way I look at all the different places that I've lived in, they've kind of been borrowed skies. So I've been borrowing them, meaning I'm borrowing these skies, this place, where I am now for the time being as mine. Meaning, when you borrow something, you're taking it and you're taking it for you, for yourself. So that's where the whole beneath the borrowed skies mean. It just means that in all those places, these were all my homes. And yes, some of them were better than others. Some of them I was happier in some places compared to others, but they were all still home to me at that time.
Yeah,
That's where the title comes from.
perfect. And so when we just put those two things together, it's like invest like it's permanent, but be aware of the impermanence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's beautiful. So you said something earlier, and I wanted to go back to it about your kids and living all over the place. Last time we spoke, you said something that I have kept with me, and now I think about it all the time. It's like, don't tell your kids they can live anywhere unless you want them to do that. And your kids live, as we said in the intro, all over the place.
Yeah.
How do you guys navigate that as, like, you're not grandparents yet, but like
No.
as parents with kids all over the world, how have you set up your life to remain close?
Mm. Well, it is difficult. I mean, you have to basically invest the time. You put in the time. Thank God for FaceTime.
Time and sky miles. Time and sky miles.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We've just come back from Sydney and we've just celebrated Sophia's graduation. And we're very lucky. We realize how lucky we are that we are able to actually pay the money and invest in the time to be able to go and celebrate them so far away. But that's what we tend to do. For the really important milestones, try and be there. And if you can't be there, write a letter. I've actually started writing letters to my kids. Every Sunday, I sit down and I write a letter to one of them. No, I'm not writing 4 letters every Sunday. That's a lot. But we try and Christmas is a little bit of a non-negotiable at the moment, but we're very aware that our 2 eldest children have partners. They actually live with their partners and things could change and they might want to, choose to do Christmas with the other family. And absolutely, you just got to be realistic about all these things. So right now, we feel incredibly lucky that the children still want to come and hang out with us. Our eldest, the one that lives in Portland, and our number 3, the one that lives in Barcelona, they're both coming to see us in Puglia this summer. So excited. Unfortunately, the girls can't make it, but it's just one of those things. We just we try and see them twice a year. I know that doesn't sound very much, but we're so grateful that we're able to do that
Yeah.
at this
And
stage.
it's a different life to plan for. And that's, I guess, what I want
Mm,
people to understand is when you give your kids the world, they have the world. And so that,
mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I always say,
absolutely.
I left my mom. What do I expect my kids to do? And
That
so,
that is that is definitely the reality. I did say that to my husband when we first got together. I said, if we're going to be doing this nomadic life, which I'm super happy to be doing, we've got to expand. And then we started having children, and we had one in Milan, one in Bologna, and then 2 in Holland. And then we continued. The 6 of us moved to Japan. I said, we cannot expect the kids to be just next door, or even maybe in the same country. And whilst you're saying that, you know that and you believe it, but the actual reality of it is super, super hard. I mean, that
Yeah.
is the truth. I mean, you're a mother. I want to see my children all the time. I would love to be able to just, say, hey, let's, meet up on Sunday for Sunday lunch or whatever, but I can't do that. So what do I do instead? We FaceTime twice or 3 times a week. We have very regular contact. We go and see them as much as we can. But yeah, the reality is this, is that if you are going to be moving your kids around all over the world, don't expect them to be just around the corner when they're
Yeah.
grown up.
Yeah. It's, we always say I think we spoke about this last time, itchy feet or something, it could be genetic. We don't know about this need to go and explore and be in
Well,
different cultures.
I think it's a funny one, that one, because I'm one of 2 siblings. My brother had the same upbringing as I did, and he chose to go to university in the UK. He married a British woman, and he now has 4 very, very British kids, and they live in London. And he chose that complete opposite to what I
Yeah.
ended up doing.
Yeah.
So it's yes, it's definitely in the family's DNA for sure. Because I mean, the fact that my children are fourth generation global nomads, it's definitely in DNA. But I'm super interested to see how what my kids will do. For now, they're quite settled where they are. I mean, the only one that seems to have moved around a bit is number 2, Francesca, who's currently in San Francisco, but she stayed in the US. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll see. Okay. So I want to change a little bit, change gears.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're writing this book, you're talking about your experience of identity and how it's changed as a woman too. So let's go to that. About, of course, you write about and you talk about being a supporting spouse and how that changes your identity and how that changes a marriage, or if it does, and the agreements that you have. And so I have questions about, I mean, we never talk about, I mean, I do, but in the ethos of this conversation, we don't talk about the supporting spouse. And especially in this somewhat, it's not as common now for people to be moved around by a company, but that certainly was true, that the spouse was just kind of part of the package, part of the company almost, and they were expected to adapt. How honest is your book about the
It's
benefits of
very
that, the
honest.
cost of that? Okay.
Yeah. I definitely talk about it. I talk about how I write about how Paolo and I had a pact from the beginning, but I think it probably came from the understanding that, because of the way I grew up,
Mhm.
that basically one half of the partnership needs to hold the fort in terms of money making, and the other half, so that was my husband, because he was the one that had the more promising career, let's say, or the career that was sort of, rocketing. And we decided this was after child number 1. So when we were living in Milan, we were both on an even par. We were both working in advertising agencies. I had a great career, a promising career and everything like that. And then I got pregnant. I had to leave work early because I had problems with the pregnancy. But, then your focus shifts, of course, when you become a mother, and then I had the baby. And then all of a sudden we were moved to Bologna with a very young baby. And then guess what? I got pregnant again. So it was just like, okay, that's when things changed. And I realized, okay, am I happy with this? Do I want to do this?
Mhm.
And we basically had a conversation. This is what's so important in couples, is to have the conversation, to be honest with each other. And I said to him, you know what? I am actually really happy to just be the mum right now. I want to be the mum. I want to be with the kids. I want to be present for them. And if I start working again, I'm going to have to, I won't be present in a way that I want to be present, because I understand every couple, every woman is different. I get that. But
Yep.
so Paolo and I had this conversation, and we decided that this is what we were going to do, that he was going to hold the fort in terms of money making, and I'll hold the fort in terms of everything else. And it worked very, very well. We then moved to Holland. We had 2 more children. And in the meantime, it's not that I was like 100% just looking after the kids. I was also reinventing myself. I became an English teacher. I was doing English lessons privately. I worked in various volunteer roles. In Tokyo, I was a admissions director for an international school because I had a little bit more time. The children were a bit older. So yeah, that's the way we did it. And things are looking a little bit different now as well. The fact that we're both empty nesters, I have a lot more time to myself. My husband also has stopped his corporate career and he's gone into self-employment, which is super interesting as well. The fact that all of a sudden we're both at home doing our own thing, because I've been writing. I'm doing talks and everything like that. I'm also doing something different, which you don't know. I'm actually starting to run some writing retreats, and I'm super excited about that. But the interesting thing is that we're both now working individually
Yeah.
again, and it's an adjustment because, of course, he's used to me being around and available for all sorts of things, and I'm also kind of struggling and battling with, okay, what should I be doing? Should I be making lunch? Should I be the one that does the hoovering or whatever, even though I have a podcast call in half an hour and I need, things like that. But, again, it's all about talking. It's all about having that conversation and being honest with each other. So it's not linear. It changes all the time. Yeah.
He makes regular appearances on the podcast when he can't stop barking.
He's absolutely adorable. Look at him.
Thanks. He's very loud.
So what I'm saying is, it's
yes,
it's not the same. At the beginning of our married life of being parents, we decided that he would hold the fort in terms of money making, and I would hold the fort in terms of everything else. It worked like that for quite a while until it didn't, and then it changes, and it's okay. You just have to have that conversation.
Yeah. And I think now, and this is just the way the world is now, also women have different pressures, men have different, maybe the same pressures, I don't know, but they have different pressures to be more involved at home. That translates to a lot more pressure when you're abroad. So it's like most of the people I know who live abroad are not doing it with the company. They're doing it on their own. They're navigating, both of them having work, having kids. And so it becomes even more important that you're honest, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it is. It's having that conversation. They're difficult conversations to have, but they're so important to have. And like that, you all start on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing that we talk about a lot, because you said you were reinventing yourself. That was professionally, but also internally, you're reinventing yourself each new culture you're in. And so again, when one of you is working, one of you's not, that can happen at different speeds as well. And so,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very typical that this is what happens: is the partner that is left, the partner that's not working, the partner that is looking after the children and is the one that actually has all the difficulty in the assimilating and the adapting, because the partner that's working, they're just going to a familiar office, they're working with familiar people. I mean, maybe not familiar people, but just, in this familiar environment, let's put it that way. Whilst
they already have a place to belong in the new country.
Yeah, they already belong somewhere. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whilst the partner that doesn't have that has to create that from scratch.
Yeah.
And not only do they have to create that for themselves, but they have to create it for the children as well. So it's, I'm not saying it's harder, it's just different. And it always needs to be acknowledged.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you talk about that in your book, you guys had kind of sounds like a very honest conversation and aligned goals. And, that's not always easy, but that sounds like it's really important. So in your book, I want to know what else you explore, because I think this was a longer project for you. Is that right? Like, you wrote it over many years. So tell us about that process.
I've been writing it for the last 10 years, actually.
Amazing.
It's taken me that long to finish it. Why? Because I've basically been living my book. That's what I've been doing. I've been going through all the emotions, all the motions, all the feelings, and actually putting that down on paper, because a lot of the book is about the comparison between my relationship with my parents versus my relationship with my children. So that was very therapeutic and emotional at the same time. That's why it's taken me so long to write the book, to get it right, to be able to put those feelings into words and onto the page. So I wanted to say that there's a vulnerability in writing memoir. It's
Yeah.
publishing personal stories means allowing strangers to see parts of your inner world that were once private. So that's why it's taken me so long to do this. And that's why I'm excited about the book coming out on the 6th of June. I can't wait for other people to read it, but I'm also incredibly nervous.
Yeah.
And
But also, there's something else in there. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's not just your story. A woman's story is never just her story. This is not,
yeah,
this is the story of your 4 children. This is the story of your parents. This is the story of, so, and again, a man's story is never his story either, but there's always a quest and it's just them and they're the main character. But a woman's story, even if they're the main character, it's not just their story, especially when you're telling it the way you are. And
yeah,
so it's quite a bit of not just pressure, but like, that's what, 7 different perspectives that you're
yeah, yeah,
trying to
yeah, yeah.
channel.
Yeah. So in August last year, when I come to the final draft the first final draft that I was happy with. I sent it to my 4 children and my father. Not my mother, because my mother, unfortunately, is very, very unwell and has been unwell since 2021, suffering from dementia. But the 5 main characters, other than myself, read it in August. And I wanted to send it to them, and I wanted them to tell me what they thought and if it was okay for me to be writing what I'm writing. And it was just incredibly interesting, the feedback I got.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, and my husband. I forgot about him. He's the main character too.
Of
So
course.
sorry.
It was just assumed. It was just assumed.
Yeah. So 4 kids, 1 husband and 1 father. So they all came back with their little comments, and it was actually quite amazing to hear that they were all very happy with what I've written. I mean, apart from a couple of things, my number 3, he was like, "You're not putting that in the book." That was okay.
And you respected
Some
it.
little,
Yeah, that's a
of
big decision,
course,
right? Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, a little dalliance that he did when he was in his late teens. Okay, fine.
Not going in.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I wrote a TED Talk with my husband about our financial lives, and that was quite confronting
Yeah, I can imagine.
to talk
Mm.
about how we transitioned out of this anyway. But I find it very difficult in general, so that's why this is a selfish question I'm asking. 'Cause-
I do talk a lot about, my relationship with Paolo. It is a good relationship, but we've definitely had our ups and downs, and we still do, like any relationship. So it's a very honest account of what happens. I mean, especially at the beginning, during the pandemic, for example, we were actually separated because he had started a job in Modena in Italy when we were still in the US, and we were going to go and join him, but we couldn't because there was a pandemic. We couldn't travel, so we were separated for 6 months, and that was very, very hard, very, very difficult, especially the
when you say
reunion. The
when you say
reunion was
separated,
difficult.
I thought you were separated, like not married or like
No,
considered.
as in separated geographically.
Got it.
Yeah, he was in Italy, I was in the US.
Right.
So I was,
And
yeah,
no,
I
I'm
was in
sorry.
the
And you were
US
saying
looking
about the
after the
reunion.
kids. Yeah. I was looking in the US looking after the kids, selling the house, selling it because we were moving. I was doing all of that, and he was on his own in Modena in Italy, and we all know those stories about how awful it was. And it was the reunion that was the hard thing, because he had 6 months of being completely alone, and I'd had 6 months of basically doing everything that needed to be done on my own. Even though I had 4 children with me, I was still dealing with a lot on my own. And I talk about it. I write about it in the book. I write about the feelings, about the difficulties that, a couple can have when you're both coming from completely different realities, and you have to try and find that common ground again. How do you do that? Anyway, I'm not going to, no spoiler alerts here. You have to read the
Yeah.
book.
Read the book. But I think that's a skill that's actually more, and everyone who did, wherever you did the pandemic, that you did have a different experience. Like I don't share the same pandemic that my sister did in Utah. Like there's just we don't have that experience together. And as a couple, I mean, that's normal. Like nobody's having the same experience. So learning that skill, but it's not like you were planning on that. Like
No.
this wasn't a choice. This was kind of and so that skill of being able to cross that chasm is a super important one. And it sounds like it came in handy. All of your honest conversations over the years might have come in handy. So sometimes this life skill can come in handy, or this relational skill.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love how honest you are about it. And that's just, I see it as wisdom. And with people moving abroad thinking it's going to be an adventure, and it is, and thinking it's going to be beautiful, and it is. I love that there's this canon of wisdom that's forming, and these are the people I'm talking to, and of course you're one of them twice now. I'm so lucky. But I really think the wisdom, and you've kind of done this because this is a generational thing for you, and on your blog and your Substack. Do you see it as weaving wisdom? Is that you're passing along a heritage of sorts? Is that?
I mean, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
just see it as, giving as much advice as I can possibly give to other people who have chosen this way of life or are thinking about choosing this kind of life. That it's not, yes, it is about adventure. Yes, it is about learning new languages and being open-minded and seeing the world. Absolutely. But it's also about learning how to live in the in-between. It's learning how to live in the in-between, which isn't easy. It's also a great gift that you can, to be able to walk into a room and be able to talk to whoever is there and have a great conversation, great conversation starters.
What's your top like skill set, or if you're in the in-between in any way, in a relationship between countries, between becoming a parent, like there's so many in-betweens. So what is your top advice?
My top advice is oh my God, that's a difficult one to answer off the top of my head.
How do you approach it? What is your mind?
Be your true self, be who you are, be honest with yourself, but also with the person in front of you, with your situation, with the situation that you're going into. If you're going into a country that is a different, where they speak a different language, actually, you must try and learn at least 10 sentences in that language before you move. At least. I call it just survival questions, survival, where you're from. Can you help me, please? Where can I find a taxi? That kind of thing. Or how much does this cost? Little things like that. Super. So that you don't feel like a complete outsider the minute you move. So that you ease yourself into it. You can help yourself in so many different ways.
Yeah. So know the language.
Yeah. Know the language. Well, try.
Be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess so I'm translating this to other transitions that people might be going through, maybe into parenthood. So we always talk about on this podcast about how living abroad is an additional life stage. And every country you go to is a new chapter. And so parenthood's a chapter, a relationship's a chapter. Maybe if you get a divorce, it's a chapter, a new relationship. So know the language for me translates to, like, when you're having a baby, you learn a little bit about parenting, about baby stuff, about whatever. And so it's learn the language of what you're walking into is a really good advice.
Or do your homework.
Yeah, do your homework.
Yeah.
And then another one that
when I moved to the US from Japan, neither Paolo and I wanted to move to the US. We were very happy where we were, but because of the job, we had to move. And I thought, oh gosh, I don't need to do any homework because I know the language. I know the culture from the TV, from movies. Yep. What else is there to know? And you know what? It was the hardest place that I've ever had to move to because I didn't do my homework. I didn't give it my due diligence beforehand. You have to respect this move, respect it. This is the thing. Yeah, as you said, if you're moving into parenthood, you're moving into marriage, you just have to do your homework beforehand.
Yep. It's better too. It's less traumatic.
It's less traumatic. Yeah. Totally.
And
Yeah.
then I would say, yeah, there's a bunch more, like be excited.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to talk about honesty a little bit with you because I think you can hang with this. I try
Mm.
and so my kids have grown up mostly Dutch in the Dutch culture. They're from the US. And we talk about honesty a whole bunch because, as you know from living here, there's a different level of candor.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when you say be honest, again, these conversations you're having with Paolo and with yourself, I think that forms differently when you live abroad. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about that, how you talk to your kids about honesty, cultural honesty, being cultural about honesty, and with yourself. How did you help them develop that honesty?
I think it boils down to respect for yourself, respect for the other person, the other country, the other culture. That's what I mean by being honest. I mean, you were just saying about how in Holland they are particularly direct. That
Hmm.
can be interpreted as maybe too honest or whatever. That's not what I mean. I mean, just yeah, learn to read the room, give it some time, and then be honest with yourself and honest with the environment around you. I mean, and again, do your homework. So it all comes together quite nicely. That's what I mean by, yeah, being honest, doing your homework, reading the room, be respectful.
Yeah. It strikes me that it's like diplomat training.
Maybe, yeah, I am pretty
Yeah.
diplomatic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But that's like, I feel like that's like how to be a diplomat. So then the next question
That's funny.
becomes the layers of honesty and then which identity you're bringing or which
Yeah,
part of your identity. And that's
yeah.
this getting back to belonging, getting back to who you are.
Well,
And
actually,
you said, yeah,
that's a good thing that you're bringing up because third culture kids are very good at adapting, incredibly good at adapting, and incredibly good at changing their identity to suit the environment, to suit the actual moment in itself, because you
hmm
just want to feel comfortable. This is what happens with third culture kids, is that they've been moved from one place to another, and they know that being uncomfortable is not a nice feeling. So how do you change that? Well, you change yourself, you adapt. You don't necessarily change yourself into a completely different person, but what you do is you kind of mirror what you're seeing, whether that's a person, whether that's a culture, whether that's whatever. That's what a third culture kid does, what a diplomat does, what a person
yeah,
who would like to integrate well, that's what they do. When you want to integrate well somewhere where you want to feel like you belong, that's what you do.
yeah. And your blog, your recent posts have been kind of towards like people pleasing, legitimacy, and
Yeah.
again, also into midlife, how maybe you're questioning some of these. And that's what it comes to me. And so
Mm.
this book might be part of that larger conversation of like that transition
Yeah.
into, again, who am I really? Who is the
It
diplomat? Who
does.
is the,
Absolutely. You can get lost. I feel like I have lost myself a little bit along the way. And
mm,
I'm beginning to realize that and I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, the book is not like, okay, this is me. And it doesn't sort of like wrap up nicely at the end and I've
ride off
sorted
into the
everything
sunset?
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've sorted everything out. This is great. No, no, no. This is just a moment. Well, a lot of moments in my life leading up to the point where I realized that really home is something that you carry within yourself. How how does that translate? How does that look like in real life? Is hard. There are moments of joy, of incredible joy, and there are moments of incredible sadness. And I think that's just real life in itself.
It is. It is. Nobody wants to
And
talk about it, but that's just life.
yeah, and it's how you navigate that, how you navigate those high joys, those deep sorrows by being your honest self, by being kind to yourself, and by trying to read the room and trying to understand the whys and the hows. And sometimes you don't understand those things, but really, I think the ultimate realization is, you know what, I'm happy within myself. This is who I am. And if the situation around me isn't working out, then that's okay. I'm feeling okay being uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's like that's the transition, right? So
Mm.
people pleasing, all this stuff, being a diplomat, like that's super, super, super useful. And then it hits its limit. And then that's kind of, it seems like where you're going, but now that you're not being moved by it, do you think that that's able to come out a bit more, probably because of your new transition into a new phase, but also not being moved against your will by a company?
Mm.
Not
I
against your
think,
will. I know you're up for it, but like,
yeah. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Okay. For me, my comfort zone was moving from one place to another because that's what I've always known. Yeah. Now I'm not in my comfort zone. I mean, yes, I have chosen it. I have
yes.
chosen with my husband to stay. But am I comfortable with that? Well, this is a brand new life for me. I don't go into this in the book because the book stops when I arrive in Modena and I've chosen to stay. That's when it finishes. So this is actually a new stage
New
of my life.
realization. This is a
Yeah,
new book. So it starts at the wedding
maybe.
with your new home. Just like all great love stories, it ends at the wedding and happily ever after, but we know that's not what really happens. So your new
Yeah.
book, just kidding. In 5-10 more years, I'll have you on and we'll talk about your new book about staying
Oh, I
or
hope it's
not.
not going to take 10 years. I am actually writing a new book, but it's not about my life. It's about actually my mother's life. My mother's life and her family, because like I said, I come from a very nomadic family, and her family is from Gibraltar, Spain, and Portugal. So very, very, very different. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Sam, we need to wrap up because I want to be mindful of your
Okay.
time, but thank you for being a wisdom keeper. Thank you for being a wisdom spinner. And this book I know will be helpful for anyone who's navigating this and asking these big questions. I want to tell people how they can find you if they want to read more.
Yeah. So you can find me on wanderingidentity.com. You can find me on Instagram under that same name. You can also find me on Substack. And don't forget that on the 6th of June, Beneath a Borrowed Sky, A Woman's Search for the True Meaning of Home will be out. So watch
And
out
they can
for
buy
it.
it anywhere, Amazon in any country?
Yes, Amazon in any country.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone for joining the House of Peregrine podcast. Please feel free to let us know what you think about this interview. Please share and like this episode if you think it might help someone, and comment. We listen and respond to everything you write to us, and we love hearing what you want to see more of. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Okay, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed our show. For the latest insights on living internationally, join us at houseofperegrine.com to find out how you can connect with our community. Let's craft our life story with intention together.